great pleasure to introduce to you our speaker this morning, Reverend Margo Alora. I've known her a long time.
Years and years, decades and decades.
She's always such a delight. She helps us become aware of things that we hadn't looked at before or didn't want to look at before, and really taking our life path to heart. She's so gifted. We're so blessed to have you. Reverend Margo Alora entered the spiritual path after receiving sporadic messages in 1983 in Boulder, Colorado, that her teaching career was complete and it was time to add spirituality to her life. Plus, she would be moving. Her mother's poor health brought her to San Diego, and her mother's transition established her back to living in San Diego, taking classes from spiritual teachers and science of mind teachers, and she was ordained in the Fraternal Spiritualist Church in 1995. Her spiritual path has taken her to Russia and Mexico to give workshops, and she currently speaks at spiritualist churches as well as a Center for Spiritual Living. She has ongoing classes called Saturdays with the Angels for 19 years at Universal Spirit Center. She recently identified herself as an explorer of divine love, joy, peace, and abundance, believing that God can never be stagnant, and it isn't our destiny to be stuck or stagnant either. We are here to expand and stretch to unseen vibrations. I was going to say volumes. To luxuriate in intimacy with the divine. Let's welcome warmly, please, Reverend Margo Alora.
Morning.
Good morning.
So I want to start off before the talk. So I came in and I was privileged to take a healing stool. And immediately, this is my experience, Jesus came in. And so I said, well, hi. and Jesus and I, we love each other, but I don't see him much. Like you guys, there's a lot of times when you mention his name and stuff. So there I am, and he comes in and he says, now I'm getting more of the message. He noticed that the other day I did a little judging of someone. Oh, they should have known that was going to happen because they did this and this. And he said, well, he said, Margo, you knew what you wanted to be and experience when you came here. And you knew you wanted to talk in front of people. You knew you wanted to share from an authentic point of view. And then you knew that not everybody would agree. You made the decision, to come in this way, and you knew. And Jesus didn't say, oh, you shouldn't, judge that other person. You and I already know that. I know that. But it's just an awareness on my part. And I work on judgment a lot, but apparently that one just slipped by me. And then I had an experience the other day where I felt judged. We'll get to that in a little while. But what it was pleasant was just the love that was shared. That a love actually I felt was just poured over me. Just poured over me. It's like, I got you, girl. God's got you. Let's celebrate love in a way that can really only be experienced on the airplane. Who knows what other lifetimes are like, but this one. And it was just so pleasantly reminding me that that love is the power that gives us this opportunity to be here on the earth plane. So I felt very blessed by him and by Jesus. It was a lovely start to the morning. So it's a privilege to be here, and I want you to know that it's a privilege to get to be listened to. And I'd like to start out by adding spiritual to the word knowledge. So we talk about, you have knowledge of history or knowledge of spelling, or, when you go to school and you get knowledge. But we have not quite realized that spiritual, at least when I was being raised, and I think now a lot is still placed outside of ourselves, outside of our own knowledge. You know that religion has spiritual knowledge, but that it hasn't been, I think, focused that you and I have spiritual knowledge. And that's why we come to church or we sing spiritual songs, so that we can get comfortable with our own spiritual knowledge. And we can question it. And thank goodness, we can question each other. And we can spread out and maybe diminish some of our cultural knowings that now we found out aren't so knowings, they're just cultural biases. So I like to add spiritual knowledge to the word knowledge. Now we know that spiritual knowledge is deep within us, and that we are silently guided. I don't have to, call up one of the ministers and be guided. I can, and I love it, but I can also be guided by going deep inside myself, because that's where a seed of the divine lives. Excuse me. We feel loved and guided and appreciated for our openness and our willingness to be our own spiritual practitioners. So that the other day when I made a mistake, and mistake is like what people used to call sin, miss the mark and judge someone, then I can practice. I can say to that person, I'm sorry, or I can say to myself, don't be silly, but I can be a spiritual practitioner. So we feed ourselves in church, we feed ourselves with books and classes, and we are spiritually enriched, and then we get to live our spirituality. Our hearts are holding the lantern of light. Our spiritual beingness is being wrapped around human experiences. Isn't that pretty? That just came through this morning. I'm going to tell you again. Our hearts are holding the lantern of light. Our spiritual beingness is being wrapped around our human experiences. And that's what Jesus was pointing out. Well, you did that judging out of humanness, and now we're going to wrap it up in spirituality and do things in a way that there's winner. There's love and love. Our fears cannot hold our spiritual selves hostage, for darkness is always dissipated by light. Love is a power that knows only itself. It creates cracks and hatred and despair, and only love remains. With spiritual knowledge comes spiritual tools, and that's what I'm doing on my podcast. I'm talking about spiritual tools, because I think it helps people realize it's like you take knowledge and take it out of, you just learn to read or write, take it into spirituality. Also, spiritual tools get you tools that you wrap in spirituality to live your life in. Our tools accommodate change that's inevitable. And sometimes that's hard on me. I don't know about you. Doggone it, I got everything in line and something changes. Of course it changes. We have to change, but somehow it's like, I'm here and I like it. but spiritual tools help us to adapt to change. Our tools accommodate change. Marianne Williamson says, we are birth and death doulas. And doulas are the people that have now, it's their career, and they, the birth doula goes with the mom and helps the delivery, and people that are making their transition, they can have a doula that is with them and assists in that transition. Isn't that just beautiful? Well, you and I are having spiritual, we are the doulas of our own life. There are some things we need to let die. And there's some things that we need to ease on into life. So we are doing our own birth doulas and being our own, I should say. Birth doulas and death doulas. Isn't that interesting? I like that. Both as, birth as pioneers of new ways of being. And I like the word pioneer, because if I think of the men and women crossing, the prairies and everything, if they made a mistake, nobody yelled at them. If a snake bit them, they may have died. But there was no, you gotta do it right the first time. That's not what a pioneer is like, and that's not what you and I are like. We are doulas of our own life now. We make mistakes. I'm so glad we're using that word instead of sins. But we learn from them. Some mistakes you really learn well. And some you might make, I've made some several times until I got tired of it. It's like, no. So we are pioneers of using spiritual tools to have our lives. So, believe it or not, that was the introduction. That's all that was to what's coming. But I wrote it, and I thought, okay, this is the introduction. We're going to practice spirituality. So I'm going to go over some aspects of the divine, attributes of the divine, of God. So things like love and joy. Can you tell me other attributes of God or the divine besides love and joy? What else is God?
Compassion.
Compassion.
Peace.
Peace. What else? Forgiveness. What else?
Be on the earth.
What was the first word?
Being on the earth.
Being on the earth is a gift, isn't it? And did you say beauty? Beauty, yeah. Wisdom, yeah. Let me see, I wrote down, I think you got them all. Abundance. Okay. Wholeness. Okay. So, I got I got this thought. Actually, a lot of it came this morning. Usually my talks come days ahead, but apparently this is what was happening this morning. So right now I'm calling it the circle theory. So we're talking about spiritual tools, and then we're also sort of zeroing in on the aspects of God, right? That's the thing that we're doing. And a circle theory. So if I don't get this clear, I want you to help me clear it up. Because this is fun and I like this. So I'm going to give you an example from my life, and then we'll see what happens from there. So you have something happen. So what happened to me is somebody hurt my feelings on the telephone. I was talking in a conversation and they hurt my feelings. And that doesn't really happen often. It was more out of shock. But anyway, okay, so I got hurt feelings. And so that's A. I just made it A because it sort of helps me keep organized. We're going to go in a circle. So A, I got my feelings hurt. B, now what do I hope will happen after that? What I hope will happen after that from that conversation was it wouldn't mess up our relationship so much, very much on the phone. Got it so far? Okay, so A and B. C. What is my faith word in God? What's the attribute of God that I can hold on to right then? Because, I got my feelings hurt. I'm not feeling really godly. You are, but you aren't. Yes.
Hope.
Yes. Hope that, but my hope was that it didn't mess up our relationship very much. So that's right. Did you read my notes? So we have A, something happened. B, let's absolutely go to spirituality first before we have more human reaction. C, what I hope is that it doesn't mess up things too much. The next one, D, is what do I fear what will happen? Because this is human life, right? And what I fear is that person, she's gonna hold it against me. It's like, she hurt my feelings and I responded authentically, and then it's like, what's gonna happen by that? Now, this is the next one that is very important, and it can be conflict. I like the word of error. What do I start believing at that moment? Do I believe in abundance or patience or do I go to I can't trust this person? There's a belief in error. Or what I went to is I felt very vulnerable. So I didn't go against the person, but I felt what you might say young. That makes sense to you so far? Okay, but I didn't feel strong, and I wasn't, if I'm feeling weak and vulnerable, am I really holding on to my first thought of God? Maybe weakly, but not strongly, right? So the next one is, can I go back the truth of God? Or am I going to stay weak and sort of dependent and please like me and those things? Or can I go back? So can I make the circle? And what I know is that God is also wholeness. Wholeness. It's like the tree. It may have a broken branch, but the wholeness of the tree, that's what God knows, and that's what I know of myself and others. So as I can go to the wholeness that God is, I can complete the circle. And I'm no longer vulnerable, and I'm no longer judging. I've completed the circle with this person. And I come out of the conversation feeling whole and proud. Proud that I didn't stay on that, you hurt my feelings and I'm gonna kick you. How we can do? So I didn't stay there. I didn't stay there because I could practice this circle of spirituality, this circle of tools, this awareness that I'm not saying to God, help me, but my thought is going to, you can't help me. I want to go to God with as much humility and openness as I can so I can be responded to with the highest abundance, beauty, joy, love, and peace. So that's a circle that was experienced that day. So guess what? Guess.
Made up.
You're going to know. We're going to do that. You and I are going to do that right now. Make it something simple. Maybe somebody cut you off in the car, when you're driving. Something simple, and you went, instead of saying bless you, you went something else. Whatever. But it's a practice. This is a practice. So I'd like you to shut your eyes, take a moment, and think of something that was a little bit uncomfortable. like my situation. Just something uncomfortable. Sit there, know you're in church, know Jesus is walking around here, knowing that the divine loves you and is with you in human experiences, not to deny them, but to be with you. So first, feel that uncomfortable experience. Second, what you hope will happen. Third, or C, actually it's A, B, and C, the Word of God that you build your faith on. Abundance, beauty, joy, love, serenity, peace, wisdom. What word can you hold on to right now? And what would you rather not happen? What do you fear would happen? Yeah. And now this last word of all the aspects of God. Where do you go now? What reaches out to you? Beauty, abundance, clarity, compassion, patience, love, joy, peace, happiness, wisdom, and feel the circle of life. We are never alone. God is always with us. And slowly come back to the room. Luxuriating in the fact that God's with us. Not just in church. God's with us. Like when I was doing a little judging there and Jesus came and helped me. God's with us when we feel overwhelmed. We're not alone. Thank you very much.